Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hey, welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast Show. Here we go again, right? Splash. All right. So we've got another incredible guest. He is a repeat guest, so I think, of the world of him. I've experienced some of his work. We might get into some of that today, but we want to talk about consciousness itself. There are definitely many myths and concepts around consciousness. All the talk of, it's the 5D, it's the 7D, it's whatever, it's the multi-dimensions, and we're blending this with that, and then we got this other thing over here, and it gets to sounding so complicated. I have a feeling we're going to get out of complication. We're going to get into more simplification a bit today with Dane and all his wisdom, whatever he's going to share. I don't actually know, but that is the direction I sense. And he is a master with clearing up your internal stuff, working with your energy, and old beliefs and trauma, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But first of all, I just want to say hello to our guests. So glad to have you here, Dane.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here, Daniel. Again, I love it. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's talk just briefly about Dane. Dane Stevens is an author, speaker, and facilitator. He is the developer of the Neuro Trauma Healing Process, NTHP, it's known as, and the Soul Re-Cognition Process, SRC, which both are amazing at, again, breaking through those trauma patterns, those old childhood traumas. I've tried it myself, and it is really profound and amazing. So, Dane, you came up into my awareness. I just so appreciate you and loved the last time you came on and our conversations we had around that time. And I wanted to bring you back, and I know, like, you're like me in that you're a deep, you've become a deep fellow. Used to be it's funny, I always think about your stories with being a hockey player and no emotions, get after them, it's a cutthroat. Now you're like this very, like, I want to say you're strong, but like you're very gentle, man, very heartfelt and everything. So right there, we could talk about a shift to consciousness, right? You have really shifted from that, like, trauma, like a lot of people, a lot of men too, traumatized, more shut down in a way emotionally, to, wow, really connected, expanded in consciousness and energy. Wow. So anything you want to share, because not everybody's heard from you before. I'd love to hear anything you want to share about that journey briefly today.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. And I became a trauma specialist out of necessity, because I had stuff that I had to deal with, which really got brought up in quite an extreme way. So yeah, now we have the Neuro Trauma Healing Process and the Soul Re-Cognition Process, which are left-right brain processes that help you to process information, because all trauma is unfinished business. So we help you to finish that business and sort of re-choose your response. You can't change what happened. It happened. And we'll talk more about spiritual bypass and going, it's all good, it's all God, and so on. And that doesn't work. We do have to do that inner work. But speaking about consciousness, if there was a destination for this work, it would be this present moment. And like you mentioned, consciousness is just such a huge and potentially misunderstood word. What is consciousness, and what is the goal of consciousness? How do we use consciousness? Where is consciousness? And so, let's try and simplify this. And when we say this present moment, even that can be misunderstood. And because when we're talking about higher coming, we can say somebody's conscious, means they're alive, they're awake, they're conscious. And then you become conscious that you're in your world, and I am here and you are there, and you become conscious that we have a choice. We can choose our response to situations. Then maybe we get to a higher level of consciousness where we realize that, wow, our attitude, our beliefs, and what we put our focus on actually creates, and we have the ability to manifest and create. And through that, there's another step. And through that step is the step of allowance. And when we get to that higher level of consciousness, we'll talk about science now, where science has proven that everything is circulating, everything is moving, that there's really nothing hard in the universe. This is like grade 11 science. And taking it one step further, we see everything has the same basic physical properties. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's human flesh and bone, whether it's fish in the ocean, the petal of a rose, a butterfly's wing, it all has the same basic physical properties. Taking one step further, we go to the subatomic world, where the unseen, we see that there's really nothing here but energy. It's all energy. So when you get to that level of not intellectual understanding, but you have the experience of connection, when you have the experience of that stream of wellness that runs through you, in that it's, once again, it's not an intellectual experience, but you're then connected to the whole. And this is where it gets really interesting and can get confusing, because this thing can't figure that out, because it can't put it into a box. The thinking intellect can't understand infinite. It can't grasp that because there's no boundaries. So you can have sort of the idea about it, but you can't experience that higher degree of consciousness from the intellectual mind. So in speaking about consciousness, we're talking about a different dimension of our consciousness. And when you see the word dimension, a lot of people just like think of some galactic out there thing, but it's not. And how we experience this higher degree of our consciousness is by stilling the thinking mind. And that's what happens automatically. So when I say, if our work had a destination, it would be this present moment. But this present moment takes you beyond the level of the thinking mind to that higher consciousness, what I'll call the authentic self, which connects, which is the all and the everything that we actually are at our very essence. And when you're in the present moment at that point, thoughtless will say, you feel that connection. And in that connection, you feel all the characteristics of what we're calling it higher consciousness. Some people might call it God. Some people might call it spirit. Some people might call it source. Some people might call it the gap. Some people might call it the field, or the portal. But when you get to that essence and feel that essence, you automatically bring on and experience the qualities of that realm, that degree of consciousness, that other realm of consciousness. And what that is peace, is harmony, is connection, is power, is abundance, is beauty, is love. All these things are there. And when you connect to this part of you, you experience that sense of well-being. And when you experience that sense of well-being, it may not be logical, and it doesn't seem logical. But when we experience this level of consciousness, when we experience that place where everything is all right, not only all right, everything is perfect, guess what happens in our outer world? It's the feeling that creates. So when we get to that level of consciousness, and we can, Jesus lived in that place, but everything works out. And it sounds kind of contradictory when he got put on the cross. But when we come to a place of feeling that degree of that stream of well-being, everything quite simply works out. And as Wayne Dyer said, when you're connected to source, nothing can go wrong. And that makes zero sense to most people. And until you experience and have that experience, it doesn't make sense. But it's true. When you're connected to that higher consciousness, that higher aspect of you, nothing can go wrong. You're connected to the whole.
Do you want to meditate and make money?
Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perception of anything going wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the mind could evaluate, well, see, this happened to them, this happened to them, but the one in that energy is not perceiving there's any problem whatsoever. It's just, oh, things are happening. It's time to be crucified, whatever. Okay. The next step. Of course, he didn't experience it that way. He had emotions based on the Bible story anyway. Oh my God, how could this be happening at some point?
Right. I mean, that's a whole new realm, and I shouldn't even have brought that aspect
Oh
up.
no, we're in that bucket now, right?
We're in it now. But,
Right.
it's one of those things when you experience, you just know, and you know that you know. And that's where you get to understand, you get to experience your spirituality or your connection. And from in the spiritual world, I mean, it's not denial. And I mentioned spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we can skip doing the inner work. The inside creates the outside. And in meditation, we connect to this part of ourselves that is above and beyond the cause and effect of the physical world. But when we, and we have to, therefore, if we can't stay in that place, we have to do our inner work and heal those parts that are out of alignment with that higher aspect of us, that don't have a belief or have a belief in separation from that higher aspect of us. That's all our inner work is, healing that belief in separation. So you're coming back to the present moment. And when you come back to the present moment, once again, beyond thought, you are in that stream of well-being, and nothing can go wrong and nothing goes wrong. So sounds extreme, but it's an experience. You cannot experience fulfillment through your thinking mind. You cannot experience ultimate peace or ultimate security through your thinking mind. The thinking mind's job is to create separation, which allows us to experience this time-space reality. So hopefully I'm not getting too far out there.
Well, not at all for me and this, and I don't think for our listeners either. So it is the Spiritual Rockstar Show after all. So
Yes.
So yeah, but no, these so there's the basic tenets that you're talking about that a lot of people would agree with, or probably a lot of people are shaking their head. Yeah. But then when you say nothing can go wrong, I think we lose a couple of people. All right, so probably like, nothing could go wrong. Like, I actually have taught that for many, for a long time too. I've been like, when you're in full presence, nothing could touch you. The most invasive force in the world could be coming right at you. It can't touch you. Nothing can touch you. And I do still believe that. It's not like I don't believe it anymore, but I know what you're saying. But also there's no and the reason is, in part, is because there's no perception as well. I mean, there's no perception that there's anything wrong. Oh, I might be eaten by this lion. Oh, whatever. Okay. So it may not matter. It's kind of like, okay, there's a calm and peace. Like, okay, it is what it is. And that's very disarming. That's very disarming.
It's like I mentioned spiritual bypass, and you can
have
the idea or the thought.
Right. It could be an intellectual idea only.
Yeah, that's not until you're in that place. And the thing is, when you're in that place, you won't get eaten by the lion. It's because the feeling creates and the all and the everything. You are that which is inside of you, which is the lion, which is the experience, which is all. In that you are in harmony with everything. And I guess you could, I shouldn't say that. I guess you could say if there was perfect right action was you to be eaten by the lion, I guess that would be what would occur.
That would be natural. That would be, because that's how I see Jesus. Jesus knew there was a higher order to that, even though it sounds like, oh, this is the horrible thing to the human mind. But he was like, no, this is what's supposed to happen. But then,
he did
lost
say
a little presence here and there in the process.
And he did say, one of you will betray me. Like he said that. He knew that. So, and his whole thing was, almost proving our spirituality, coming back from the dead. So, but for practical senses, or for this practical conversation, most of us can't stay in that present moment.
Right.
But when you can stay in that present moment, yeah, nothing can go wrong. So that's where we have to stay alert to what's going on inside of us. And that level of awareness of how connected we are, how much we're in our heads, or how we are feeling, it's the body that tells the truth. The body cannot lie. This thing tells us untruths all day long. So being aware of what's going on inside of you and feeling that connection, getting to know that connection, first making the connection, getting to know that connection, and staying there for as long as we possibly can. And that's where our meditation, our spiritual practice is, it's key. It's not an option to a truly free life. So, yeah.
So when you say nothing can go wrong, now I'll just ask you directly because you use that phrase a number of times. What does that mean? What does that really mean?
Well, when we come to the understanding that all of our problems come from our thinking, and that also can sound like a very extreme statement. I can have good thoughts. I can have positive. Yes, we can. Absolutely. Coming from the thinking mind, you're coming from the duality. And thinking mind is the negative pole of life. Life is a negative and a positive pole. The negative pole is the thinking mind. And when I say negative, I'm not saying it's bad. It's the negative pole of energy, which we are. And in that way, with the negative and positive pole, that's how we're able to exist and experience ourselves as separate, experience the variation, the variety of life, which is why we came here. So understanding that is really important, that the thinking mind isn't bad or wrong. It's the game we came here to play. And it's what executes the game that we came here to play. So you have to forgive me. I have to. What is the question? Oh, when things can. So when you're in that place of connection, yeah, everything is harmonized with everything else, and that's the truth. That's what's going on. So if we declare something bad or wrong, kind of like what Mr. Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And when you think something's wrong, you think something's right, then you're right. And just to correct that one also, positive thinking doesn't do it. It's about the experience. It's about feeling that connection and allowing that connection to come forth through you. And in that, things will magically work out. The right person will show up. The money will show up. Something will be dismissed. Something will happen. And that's really the adventure of life. When you can come to that, when you start to trust this connection, when you start to make this connection and trust that connection and follow that connection, because when you get the guidance from this connection, it may not seem at all logical. I mean, it's not going to tell you to jump off a cliff or anything, I'm sure, but it may not seem logical or practical to, as it's been said, the muggles of the world who don't have an understanding of that higher consciousness. So able to connect with that higher consciousness, yeah, things will magically work out. And nobody can prove that to you but you. That's the magic of this life. And but when you get enough evidence, you know. And when you know, you know, and you will start to relax more. You'll start to play more, maybe take more risks, because you're looked after, you're loved. And when we are truly present, we will see miracle after miracle after miracle happening in our life, because we're aware, because we're in a dance with life, because we're conscious and have that consciousness within us. That is the consciousness of life, capital L, all of life. So
beautiful. Yeah, that's so true. So true. I mean, yeah, the spiritual bypass thing, that, I'm whole, I'm well, I'm whole, I'm well, everything's perfect, everything, white light, white light, white light, white light. We
your life is falling apart and all the luggage is flying.
Right. No, I only see white light, right? I mean, though I laugh about it, it has a power. Sometimes for people, it can work in a way, right? It can cause an effect. It could create positive effects, but it also could keep you blind, and in denial and lower frequency than you realize. as well, potentially. And I've always said, like, there's I've been to and facilitated silent meditation retreats, and I've been in spiritual connection and teachings and everything for a long time myself. And I've always said at my retreats, I said, well, one of the things is just, things just come out of your mouth. And of course, I'm sure a million other people said it too, but I said, positive thinking's great. But with every positive thought on the polarity side, there's a negative thought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. So underneath what you're thinking is like, oh, I think I might be bad, so I better keep saying I'm good, right?
Yeah. Isn't that so true? Yeah. Bang on. Yeah. So when we create, and we can create from this place of I want or I need or what have you, it carries both the negative and the positive pole. When we come from that purely positive pole, pure positive energy, which is that higher dimension of consciousness, life occurs. And it doesn't come out of want and need, it comes out of the perfection of life. And that sounds so, as I say that, it just sounds so looking through the rose-colored glasses, but it's an experience, and it's magical when you can come from that and live from that place. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, I've got many things I could share, but this isn't for me to share too much today. I want to hear from you. So, but yeah, we have all.
I want to hear your story, some of your stories, but anyway.
Maybe we'll sneak some in then. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. Okay, give me permission. All right, so like on those retreats, like I would take students, like one of my he's a friend as well, but like one of my students out in the nature, I says, let me show you some things. And I would show him how just by presence, they're just like parlor tricks. They don't really mean anything, but they mean a lot in terms of like what you're talking about. Like watch how I just stand here and the butterflies just come and land on my hand. And it happens because you're in that connection with that. You're just in that connection with that. And then it happens. So, but it happens when you're in a connected state. So I could be, now watch me do whatever, okay, and I'm not going to be in a connected state anymore. So then you try to pull those tricks off. It's not about that, right? So people get crazy with these things because we're like, oh, we could get more, we can manipulate things. It's crazy. So, but it's about being in the state. I mean, so much so that, I'm super aware that from a manipulative state, there's a lot, and I've been talking about this a lot lately for whatever reason, but I know, like, from a manipulative state, I could do a lot of things that I'm not doing right now to have what they call success. Oh yeah, like all I have to do is put on a certain show, and oh yeah, the money's coming in. I got people in all my programs and groups and everything. Look at me, I'm bulletproof. And we got a lot of people. I rail on that on the show because there's a lot of people that are not real. They're not authentic. There are authentic ones, but I'm just saying there's a lot of not real people out there doing these things, and they say this is the path to success, and it's all based on their probably why is the expert term the trauma and the wounding, and so they created this manipulative kind of way of being, and they're not coming from the deeper true presence, which is what spiritual rockstar is all about. It's all about this. What we're talking about today is coming from that space. So Dane, I'm so grateful. You're so beautifully describing it. It's about getting in that
like you mentioned, most people lead lives of compensation. And I'll be successful because I don't feel I am.
Right.
Be powerful because I feel like I'm weak. And we have to potentially deal with those core beliefs and heal them to the point where we can be present, which comes to the next step. When, and through meditation is how we consciously connect to that higher aspect of us. And in meditation, what happens is a shift happens. And the shift that happens, it goes from energy out to energy coming in. Us creating, wanting, speaking, thinking, to energy coming through us, to being receptive. And in that, it's the feeling that creates. And when you're in that stream of well-being connected to source energy, yes, good things are going to happen, and you're going to enjoy your life so much more, and things are going to go smoother and easier, and things will flow. And from that flowing, it's interesting because you get an automatic sense of thank you, thank you, thank you. And once again, that's not logical either. But thank you is, as it's been said, that alone is the ultimate prayer. And when you come from a place of thank you, of gratitude, it's come from a place of I already have, I already am. And what does that bring? More of that goodness, more of, anything lacking will be taken care of. Life abhors a vacuum. And because you're connected to that consciousness, which is abundant, which is peaceful, which is powerful, which is creative, which is beautiful. And that's what you experience. So it's from that energy flowing through us, not, like you say, not from trying to manipulate that energy. If we're trying to manipulate the energy, we're coming from the negative pole to try to utilize the positive pole. And we can do that to a degree. But once again, there's the two poles. So with that positive, the negative will be there. And that's why you see so many people crash. And, that's their next step. It's perfect because that's their next step. And when I had my big, huge blowout, I asked, I think I shared this with you last time. I asked for three things. I asked to, I guess I'm just trying to do them in the right order. But I asked to let go of all of my fear, which I think, I look back and I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I mean, that's just a lot to ask for in one. So to let go of all my fear, to actualize my full power, and to do what I came here to do. That's the three things I asked for. And within months, I had that incredible breakdown where I lost everything over a 3-year period after that. But that's where it all started. Because our real power isn't in our thinking mind. It isn't in us putting stuff out there. It can be to agree. There's nothing wrong with, having wants and desires. I'll call them desires, which coming from the Latin, it comes from a Latin root word which means of the Father, which that makes sense. So desires can be placed in us. And yes, we can create. But when we allow the energy to flow through us and we get out of the way with the small mind and let the higher consciousness, the higher mind come through us, that's where we get direction, we get clarity, and we live a fulfilled life. And instead of wanting and needing and trying and working harder, we can experience that place of fulfillment by, slowing this thing down enough where that shift happens and energy starts to flow through you. And we are the opening. And, in what I wrote to you, I talked about how we use consciousness, being aware of it, and how consciousness uses us. And it uses us by flowing through us. We are the vehicle for higher consciousness. We are all here for some miraculous reason, for some miraculous fashion, for consciousness to work through us. And it may not be some huge miracle. It could be a fulfilled life where you are the example for others. But we all have this higher consciousness, which is a miraculous life that wants to live through us.
Yeah. It's funny that these ideas we're talking again, mostly people in the Western world, or even the European world, and so even some of the places in the Eastern world these days. But yeah, these different places where people might be listening in. If they've been at it a while, like, okay, I kind of know all this already in my head, right? So we've got that aspect. But I wanted to make this comment, and then I'm going to follow up on what I just said with that. But the comment I wanted to make is they seem like extraordinary ideas, and yet they're ancient principles, they're ancient ideas. They've been around forever. They're ordinary, really. But in that, I think the more we can make it more ordinary, I've always said this, the more we can make it ordinary, the more accessible it becomes. Otherwise, people are like, whoa, I want this exalted, amazing state. How do I obtain? Like that's what it becomes, and then they can't. Then they totally don't get it. And so, yeah, I mean, in the East, they They have like live the Tao, you know, you got the Tao and you got I don't know, all the terms Wu Wei or whatever. I don't know if they're interrelated, but you've got these different terms they use, right? And it's basically what you're saying. I mean, it's along these same lines. It's you're in that connection, and it's about being in this. Tony Robbins has got on the train now these days too. He calls it the beautiful state, right? So you got to get in that beautiful state, and you know, when you get past the idea of living, like one of my clients, he's a spiritual teacher, he says, you know, and other people say this all the time too, living for outcomes, right, and things, and we're not concerned with those things when we're in presence. We're simply enjoying presence, period, right? So yeah, it's so
it's
beyond
interesting.
what we're
It's
used
not a
to, right?
choice.
It's so
Yeah.
so beyond what we're used to doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it is fascinating for what we know, for how we live, because
Yeah.
like you
It
say,
is.
we know all this. And, you know, just to piggyback on what you said there, when we make that connection, it's not a choice. We are just simply okay. And we know. And it is shifting to that higher dimension. It's another dimension. But it's a natural thing that occurs. But you know, for people who maybe don't know what this is or haven't experienced, ask, just put it out there. I want to have the experience. Ask to have the experience. And because, you know, once you've heard, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people, especially on this show, who've had experiences in their life, like meditation types experiences, where all of a sudden they had this enlightened experience, and they spend a lot of time trying to get back to that big event that happened in their life. And when I had my huge Satori, I was like, oh my God. And I wanted to get back there. And because you can't unlearn that, and you know that life, that light is there within you. So ask for the experience, and continue to still your mind, continue to do the inner work. And because the inner work is the parts where you have a belief in separation. You have a belief, all your traumas, all your hurts, all your woundings come down to the foundation of a belief in separation from your higher consciousness, God, Allah, Buddha, call it what you will. So do the inner work and continue to still the mind, get into nature, and feel from that place of a quiet mind.
Yeah. So those are things to cultivate it, right? Getting in nature, meditating, all these. So so you started to give some ideas of how to approach, you know, really allowing yourself to have more of that connection. And I would also, and we'll get into a little bit more here. So, but one of the things that's to talk about what you said with the big experience that we get to have along the way. Yeah, I mean, you know, I have had those experiences where, again, like every single moment was like, felt like just bliss, joy, but it was all internal. We had nothing to do with what's happening in my life. Zero. It's just you're just in that energy, right? And it's turned on for me. It's like this, like right here, I feel it, especially when I'm in that state, like right, and I'm pointing to my chest right above my heart, and it just this feeling, just like, oh, it doesn't matter what's happening. Somebody could be getting stabbed right in front of me. I still feel the feeling. It's like, oh, this thing's happening. I would feel compassion, but I still have the joy. It'd still be, oh wow, you know, like it would still be that. It would still, everything feels like a delight. Everything feels amazing. And it's like you said, it's the natural state, really is there.
Yeah. The
And then
underlying state is always there. Yeah.
the thing is we get hooked in, right? So that's probably more. So there's all the foundational practices, meditation, get out in nature, etc. Right? So I'm open to hearing it. I mean, to me, doing the work that you do with the trauma is a way into that too. Is you're doing
It
that
is.
inner work and you're connecting with that energy. It's huge.
Yeah, even Peter Levine, when I like early in my career and doing this like many moons ago, he said that trauma is one of the pathways to enlightenment. I went, what are you talking about? And as I progressed and learned this work and do this work, it's like, yep. kind of all roads lead to Rome in that way. And regardless of what your dysfunction may be, your addiction may be, your downfall may be, it is trying to bring us inside. So, and have you ever done a Vipassana, Daniel?
I haven't done one of those. I've done silent meditation retreats. They're not at the level of intensity of one of those, but they're several day kind of total silence, more or less, kind of retreats. But I hear they're amazing. The second time today, someone's brought it up again.
Oh, is that right? Well, I have to say that I have no problem. I have no problem promoting them. I think everybody should experience a Vipassana. And I've done a 10-day Vipassana, and I think they even have I saw a 30-day a while ago. So they even have 30-day ones. But 10-day used to be the biggest one that they did. And in that, you go and it's completely silent, and it's all by donation, which it's just this was started from a place of such truth, because they know how we work, what they are, what we are. And so it's all by donation. They feed you, and you go there, and it is completely silent the whole time. You're not supposed to even make eye contact with the person. No reading, no writing, nothing like that.
Right.
All those externals. And I watched people go mad. And
right. You're just sitting here. What's wrong? You can't. The same thing with the retreats I would conduct and go to. Then I start conducting them because I'm like, this is so powerful, right? I want other people to experience it. I got to say, I enjoy being at one much more than conducting one, because you get a lot more out of it in a way. When you give it, it's more for them than it's for you, but in a way. But yeah, I mean, like, if people just like can't handle it, there's people that leave those retreats because they literally cannot handle that level of stillness.
And I don't want to paint it in a bad light. I mean, I think everybody should experience it, because you get to experience your mind head on. It's kind of like, mentioning Jesus again, going out into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And this sets you up to experience your demons inside of you, but also to show you that you can deal with them, overcome them. And to have something like that available to us in this day and age is just phenomenal. And so I highly recommend, and I totally support the Vipassana Foundation and movement, because it's a place where you can make that separation from your mind. Because until you make the separation from your thoughts and your thinking mind, you are it, and you have thoughts and it takes you over, and you are it, kind of thing. So it's really a place where you get to see the power of stillness and the power of separating from that thinking mind. So I just want to throw that in there. And, I say that I saw people go crazy. And yes, some people, their mind just drove them crazy. Other people went into great bliss.
Yeah, true,
and
true.
Laughter. So it's not where everybody goes crazy, but for some people it can be very confronting. And but it's just such a great gift to the world, and I think everybody should do one to experience how they work.
A lot of people, if they've doing it for their first time, and especially if they're a little less meditated, etc., they will experience, and it's a roller coaster usually to start off with. Especially, it's like, I can't take it. Oh my God, I've never felt so better in my life. And they could flip back. Oh my God, no, I can't take another minute. And then, usually, at least my experience was, by whatever, day 3, 4, 5, or whatever, there's a place, a lot, and again, everybody's different, but a lot of people come at like, oh, I'm good now. I can just stay here forever. Like, so it gets that. I feel so good. I feel so connected, and why am I not feeling this way in my day-to-day life? Well, I probably need a reset, another reset sometime soon, because it's been coming up a lot, the Vipassanas and stuff, people talking.
That's a really good word for it, reset, get down to zero kind of thing. So, and if somebody isn't sure, somebody isn't a big meditator, do the 4-day or the 7-day. And it's funny because this was, when I did a 10-day, the first with Annie, she wasn't a big meditator, and I sort of realized that might have been a little bit much for her right off the bat, and she thought I was going to stay. I just love it. and it was a little bit much for her. So if you're a new meditator, do the 4-day or the 7-day first.
Because honestly, it's probably the most powerful thing I've done is I mean, it's up there. It's if it probably is. I would say if somebody put a gun to my head and says which one's the most powerful, I'd say that's it right there. That is really powerful. So yeah, totally endorse those. Ade Shante is someone who's been a guide, a mentor to me. I totally recommend his as well. And I think Vipassana, they actually have you do certain energetic processes that probably are different from what I've heard. Now I've heard there's levels sometimes to some of them or whatever. I don't know, there's maybe not in the one that you go to, but
Yeah,
I've
I went
heard.
to the one in California in
Mhm.
North Fork, and they had I think I can't remember his name, but he had him speaking on video a number of times. But for the most part, it was straight,
Mostly
meditation.
sitting,
It
yeah.
was
I've
like,
done
yeah, there was 2 hours of talks for a couple times, but it wasn't religious in that way. It was just trying to explain how he works. So yeah,
maybe some of the specific outlets, sometimes they do extra stuff. All right,
could
we're
be,
doing this energy practice or something, so it's possible, yeah.
could be. Yeah.
So anyway, just curious, because I always associated that with Vipassana Zen, and you're telling me that's no, it's silent meditation retreats basically, and people are doing other things, they're just adding on to it. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. So yeah, so we've got all the things, go for a walk out in nature, meditate, maybe praying, right? There's so many. What brings you a sense of connection? So there's going to be a whole playlist of things. What brings you a sense of peace, connection, getting out on the boat, getting out by the beach, getting out? Again, it's nature, nature, nature. What is it? Maybe just being still in your home, like just staring at your cat, right? Or so it could be all kinds of different things that bring you in that state. And then, one of the things I've had to do because I've gotten so into even the most enlightened ones now these days, it seems like many of us anyway. We got the phone. So we go, oh, let me look at my phone. Let me look at my phone. Let me look. So that's what's so cool at those things is it breaks you of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no phones, don't even bring one, ideally, or at least turn it off for the whole time. No technology, no writing, no reading. But yeah, I mean, we have all these distractions to constantly re-engage the mind. If I was trying to create a matrix of separation, man, I would have created all this technology for sure. And yet, how powerful it is, right? We wouldn't be talking right now otherwise. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, and I mean, you can't unlearn this stuff, and so it's
yeah.
just a matter of using it like this in a positive way. and
Mhm.
and for people in regards to consciousness, and back to the topic of consciousness, to
Yeah.
reach that higher dimension, one of the things that blows me away is how fast we forget.
Mhm.
And a spiritual practice is important, and I think your audience probably understands that. But yeah, when you have, make sure you schedule meditations in ultimately the same time every day, and more than once a day. I
Yes.
like to do mine in the morning, first thing after I have some kind of exercise, and then in the afternoon, just to help you to stay in that place. And I think a lot of times we meditate and then we try to get through the day. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you can stop just for
Right.
2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all through the day.
Right.
So may you set something on your. Here's technology. Use technology to remind you. I had one gentleman I know, friend of mine, and he said it every hour. He'd stop for 30 seconds. And I was like, wow. But just to have that connection and to remind you of that connection and to get connected. So schedule your meditation times twice a day, ultimately. And, when we talk about meditation, a lot of people meditate, they use the guided meditations. And those are fine and great. But lead yourself into the silence.
Yeah.
And if you are using guided meditations, great. Nothing wrong with that. But in the end, stay in the silence for 5 to 10 minutes and keep expanding that. Because when you stay in the silence, you are there with you, and that higher dimension becomes visible to you and tangible to you. So it's through silent meditation that we really allow that shift to occur through us, because it's not something, coming from us or something else coming to us. We get to really, it's like the Vipassana. We get to experience ourselves head on in that way. So if you can do silent meditation, highly recommend that. I've actually developed a meditation, the ASM meditation, amplified silence meditation, and it's through the use of earplugs. And just a short story about that. I thought I developed that meditation. I moved from the city, I moved into the city from a smaller town, and I was a meditator. And all of a sudden, there's all this noise. I was like, oh my goodness! So I thought, well, I'll put in earplugs just to block noise out. So when I put the earplugs in, there's automatically this high pitched sound, and I just naturally gravitated to listening to that high pitched sound. And as I kept listening to that high pitched sound, which was in the left ear, it kept getting closer and closer and bigger until it sounded like almost like a static. And I kept listening into that static, and over time, and this is over like a year or so, all of a sudden I went through the static and my mind stopped. And I was just like, oh my God, I've discovered something. This is amazing. And I found out, oh, okay, I'll tell you the rest of the story. About a year, maybe a year later after that, there was some Indian guru doing a meditation class up in this is when I was in Vancouver and Burnaby, and I thought, oh, I'll go check it out. So I went in there, and they handed me earplugs. And they proceeded to explain the 7 layers of sound that travel from the left ear to the right ear. And the reason when I teach meditation, I tell that story because when we simply, through the act of sitting down, slowing down and listening, we are cueing something. We are calling something in, something greater than our minor capacities, our smaller capacities. So in that sitting down, I was gravitated to put the earplugs in, which seemed kind of obvious, but then I heard the high pitched sound, and the sounds changed over time. And now I meditate my right ear every day. And so in that, it was there. And, it's things will happen for you. Life will work for you and guide you naturally, easily. And that's one of those situations where I got guided to a meditation, which is hundreds of years old. I had no idea. And I was the only one that showed up to that meditation class.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they say, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes, especially things like spiritual practices. There's probably almost nothing new. So, but then again, who knows? But there's very little that seems to be new. It's all this ancient, very old, things that people have done for a long time. So yeah, I think again, I can't overemphasize on my part of the input on this conversation, like how people need to make it like not a big deal. Like even when I same thing here, like when I went to one of those silent retreats, I wanted to have a big experience. So I found myself in a big Kundalini and all this stuff and awakening and all that, because I was asking for it, right? And then I let it come in. I was setting the intention. I wanted it so bad, and I wasn't chasing it. I wanted it so clearly. And so I was just so clear. I want that. And so I had an experience. And then I walked away from the retreat in that state I talked about. Like I was like, oh, everything's, man, I guess. And I got a first class ticket on my plane ride home. Like they just said, well, we're all booked up here. You take first class, and I mean, it happens. It's not like a totally unusual, but it happens every once in a while. But I mean, like it just like magical things will happen. And I'm not even telling the half of that story, but like it just happens. I was in such a beautiful state. They're telling me like, yeah, your flight, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to be, and I didn't have to wait for the next flight, but they put me on a first class on that one at least. And I didn't even know until I looked at the ticket. I was so detached to results. I didn't even look at the ticket. I wasn't intending anything. and this happens all the time when you're in a state. And I look at the ticket before I look at the ticket, I said, I bet it's a first class ticket. I'm getting a vibe. And I look at it as a first class ticket. It's like, and then it's, I guess it's okay to have fun with that and be like, whoa, yeah, have that feeling, right? It's totally fine. But then again, you have to watch it because that ego is like, oh, look how powerful I am. And I can't overemphasize how that is we have to watch it. We can get caught up in our ego with what's possible through that state, but to be more like, yeah, enjoy it, but also realize, okay, I'm just so grateful, like you said, I'm so grateful, I'm so humbly grateful, and realize it's not you, it's just what's happening, and you get to enjoy it. That's what I would say.
What blows me away is I've seen on, I don't know if you watch football. I'm not a big football fan, but I've seen on football, they will make a touchdown and, get down on the knee and start to pray. I was like, wow, that is awareness. That is
Yeah.
connect. Like, wow, I am, I'm not a religious person in that way, but I see that and like, wow, that is really awesome to have that. And, the old saying, glory to God. I mean, that's the thing, is understanding that the little I wants to take credit for it. The little I wants to create stuff. The little I wants to be the man. The little I is not the man or the woman. And yeah, to understand that. And that's where meditation, silent meditation, is so key, to get out of the way and to keep that in perspective, and therefore keep that little I as, dare I say, as the servant, but not as the master. And for most people in this, I don't know about most people. Things are happening and things are changing, but an awful lot of people, the little I is the master, and they believe it to be true.
Oh, I think we can confidently say most people still.
Well, the thing is, with what's going on in the world today, it looks so crazy. And that's the negative pole rising, which is calling the positive pole to rise. Which is why I so appreciate you doing this work and bringing this awareness to people, and helping people to rise up, because it's just a game of energy. So, continue to bring that positive pole higher. And that's where we find equilibrium. That's where we find balance. That's where we find harmony. And it happens inside of us first. Our job is always us. So instead of watching the news, go and meditate and connect and feel that perfection, feel that harmony. And that's the best thing you do. And in that, recognize and appreciate the harmonies of the world, appreciate the beauties of nature, appreciate nature. Appreciate friendships and harmonies, and where people are good and kind, and appreciate all the services that we do have, and even the technology and so on. Start to appreciate all these things, and therefore you are creating more, and that is the best thing you can do for our world. That's how we heal our world. We see through the illusion of separation, there's really nothing wrong, and then we could experience that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I know you have I have one more question for you, but I'm doing the things a little differently today. Normally I always finish the questions, then we do whatever you're going to offer. But we're going to do the offer now. Then I'm going to ask you one more question, because I've got one that I really want to ask you. So yeah, you've got the time this is coming out, you've got a something for people to check out. I believe you call it Reclaim Your Power. Do you want to tell them about that?
So on September 12th, and it's an online event, and it is for people who want to heal core limiting beliefs that have been in their way and keeping them from moving forward in their life. And yet we're talking about consciousness. And once again, if our work had a destination, it would be this present moment, where we connect to that higher aspect of us, that higher consciousness. And these dysfunctions, these disharmonies, these addictions, these chronic conditions that you're experiencing are there for a reason, and they are calling you to go inside, to that light inside. And these, once again, these disharmonies in you are places that have a belief in separation from who you truly are. So we help you to heal these core limiting beliefs for good, because we help you to create a relationship with that life within you. So it is, once again, leading to that higher consciousness and removing, I say removing the obstacles, but we bring things to resolution, because those things happened and you're not going to get rid of that. You're just going to come to peace with them. And, when you come to peace with them and you forgive, and forgiveness is also a very misunderstood thing, or can be. You give that energy back to that time. You forgive, and you give that energy back to that time. That energy is no longer cycling inside of you, and you can look at that event and go, "Oh, that's what happened. Oh, I'm good." And however that is, you don't harbor any negative energy around that. Therefore, it does not keep you stuck and held back. So we come to the place of giving that energy back, and you get to once again be present and at choice, or in your power.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I can tell you the type of processes he takes. I don't know what he's doing on that particular, event, but his processes truly work, and they truly expand the connection you have with the radiance, the presence, etc. Absolutely, I've experienced that in working with his processes. So so I'm so grateful for that. And so my question is, of course, they're doing all these things we're talking about, doing the deeper trauma work that you help with and whatnot. But everybody's going to find themselves every once in a while. I'm sure it happens to you every once in a great while, maybe even to this day, maybe not. It doesn't matter. But most of us are always going to find ourselves eventually, most of us on a regular basis, to some degree, where we're in a situation where we're in a beautiful state. Something comes along and you're like, "Ah!" Like something triggers you, right? Your spouse says something to you, or something in the news happens, it comes your way, or whatever. Or all of a sudden it's like, "I don't have the money to pay my bills. Whatever it is, you just freak out, and you're just like, so I was wondering, like, what do you recommend for people to try to either maintain their presence when those things come, or to come back? Like, of course, there's meditation, all that, but what are some other, like,
So
ways? Yeah.
in the moment,
Mhm.
first, you recognize that. So, you recognize that how you feel, and
Mhm.
understand any negative emotion is ego. So in that, first you recognize it. Second step, say thank you. Why would you say thank you? Because you have recognized a part in you that is disconnected from who you truly are. So say thank you. And you can use the word thank you, and you just keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you, until it raises your energy. It doesn't have to make sense, but in that thank you, it raises your energy. And the thank you is always only about what's going on inside of you. You're not trying to change that person, that situation, get out of anything. You are simply smoothing out the inside, acknowledging the inside, and understanding that this is a part of you that is separate, has a belief in separation from the whole. So you say thank you, and then you go and do that inner work. And that inner work, we do a left right brain process, which allows you to bring that up into the present moment, as to you get to find out what it is.
Mhm.
Because if something triggers you to that degree, it's always from the past, and it's
Mhm.
something that has that same energy, and you get to bring that up, and you get to bring it to resolution. But always thank you for making me aware of the part in me that feels that way. Thank you for making me aware of this part of me that has a belief in separation from who I really am. Thank you for allowing me to have this awareness. Thank you for helping me to heal this. Thank you for knowing that this is up, so now it can be healed. Thank you for bringing this up for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I had a friend say recently, did you think gratitude is like a superpower?
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
Totally. Yes, yes, yes. Wow, that's great. I love that. I'm going to start using that even more now. So, yeah. All right, great. Well, as we're starting to wrap up, we're just going to take a moment here for me to just see if I got whatever downloads I got for you, like I like to do on the show. Tune in, use the beautiful
Yes.
connection we
Great.
have to share something. Okay, ready? Okay, let's go ahead and see what comes through. All right. Something about at first I could be like, well, maybe it's me, but projection or whatever. But I'm getting this thing like getting like for manifesting more of what you desire. I think all of us can use it to a degree, but it's coming through to share this with you. Like I'm getting like from the sense of taste, like, what would be yummy? Like I'm getting this like yummy kind of thing, like, what do we got a taste for? And so it might be more like it might be a specific thing sometimes, but it might be the quality of being, but I'm getting like it could be specific things like just and so I just hear what comes through. I'm just getting like, oh, that's yummy. That's yummy. I think I like that, and that's all you have to do is say, I think I'd like that, So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So just saying yes to something that is yummy. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's that easy.
That easy. It can be that easy. Absolutely. So a good reminder for me too. All right. Okay, because we can forget sometimes anything, but okay, let's see what else is coming through. Well, for whatever it's worth, I mean, they do show, I mean, again, because I try to minimize you're awake enough where you're good, but you do have like the telepathic stuff. We all do, of course, but you do have a strong telepathic yeah, both. It feels like both, like sender and receiver energy. So maybe it's something that you want to just be more aware of, like, I did pick up on those thoughts. I had that thought and then you realized it. Wow, it's not just noticing it more, maybe playing with it more, utilizing it. What kind of world could we have if we shut our mouths more and just telepathically communicate? That's what I often wonder, right?
Funny you would say that because Anne, my other half, is a reader, and she says you're so
Telepathic.
yes, that you should be doing this. And it's like, but I've
I
never.
don't have to do it. It's just something that I'm giving you as
Just
an awareness.
because I don't acknowledge that part that much, so maybe that's a sign for me to.
Yeah, you're getting multiple inputs on that one. So let me see if I could get just a quick one to wrap up here. Something maybe around some money. Let's see what wants to happen. What's going on? I'm getting like you're sitting on a pile of cash, sort of like yeah, it's like you got all this there, but there is some disconnect. You might have made at some levels, maybe you've made money of the bad guy in some ways, like maybe obtaining it through doing your work, the bad guy. It's just, again, I just share what comes through. So I'm just getting like so I'm getting that, making it more sacred, more holy, and maybe you've done that work, but I just feel like there's more work that wants to be done with letting money be stronger and more abundant in your field and in your work and things like that. Not that, again, like the ego, part of it, no, but necessarily, but making it more accessible energetically by connecting it more with the yummy feeling that you like to live in. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. So there's something with connecting with that money more. It was coming through.
So having a juicier, yummier relationship with money. Yeah.
Yeah.
More relationship with money.
What?
More of a spiritual relationship with money. Is that, am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, making it. I'm just sort of getting like there's a bit of a like making it a little bit like like the bad guy, or when it comes to, again, in doing your work, you may be totally good with money in other ways, but when it comes to doing your work is where I feel more of a disconnect. Like there could be way more financial opportunity, and of course you can do a lot with that. You don't have to just use it all for yourself, as we always say, right? But I just get like there's more yummy money that wants to come in,
Yummy.
So
Oh, I like that. Yummy money.
yeah, maybe that's the new book, right? A yummy money book, instead of happy money, right? Ken Honda did that one already, so I do yummy money.
Yeah, I read that one recently. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, that's it. Just some things coming through. So sure thing. Cool. All right. So everybody, if you want to check me out more and maybe get some tuning in for me on your purpose, your business, or whatever, you may want me to tune into, but it's typically for purpose and business. You go to my website, yoursacredpurpose.com. You can get a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation with me. You can check out the details at the website. It's my joy to share with you all. So take advantage. There's also free meditate, make money meditation there. Brings you into beautiful states. They're talking about meditation today, as it turns out. So it brings you to those beautiful states. And what I do actually talk about the money, and you're tuning into your money stuff, or whatever questions you have around where things want to come, but it also is turning on the energy for money. And so check out the meditation. There are people meditating and making money through the meditation, from what I hear. So check it out at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So Dane, another amazing time together with you. I'm so grateful
to have you
today.
Pleasure. Always great to talk with you. Yeah.
Likewise.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. So as I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time.
Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.